Welcome back to Switch to Linux. Well, today we are going to be having a look at the latest news from Linux Mint. They have some excellent changes coming up, and these are slated for 22.3. Of course, the biggest thing they've been talking about lately has been the cinnamon menu, and they did listen to a little bit of feedback from people that didn't really like your power options up at the top and wanted a little bit more flexibility on things, and so they've actually added some menu option settings that allows you to move the power buttons back down to the bottom closer to where they are now. It allows you to also move the search bar to the bottom of it and then do a few other adjustments as well. So having a look at these, we have the ability to add the search to the bottom. So now the search and the power options go down to the bottom. And then we also have the ability to put the power options over inside the left-hand side of the menu instead of the right. Again, the big changes allows you to put your username, your avatar, and your some folders. And of course, you can customize everything, as you can see right here. The one thing I don't like about this view here is I like the size of the menu here, but the icons here are just the little grid instead of the actual image icons. You can get those to show up by having a larger view on this, but I'll have to have a look at the menu to see exactly what size you have to. I just hope we can see those icons even in the smaller view. But overall, though, they've done a lot of good settings here, listening to a lot of feedback. Once again, just giving you those options to put those items where you happen to want to be. Also, something I didn't mention before, this is effectively like a new cinnamon menu. The old one, as it is right now, to my understanding, will be available as an applet you can add to the panel. So if you do like the existing Linux Mint menu, I believe I've heard that is going to still be available. We will confirm that when this version comes out, and so we want to have a look at that. But that is some commentary that I have seen in response to people saying, "What if I want that old menu?" And there are actually a few other menus you can use as well already in the applets. So the other thing that they are doing here is they are taking that system information panel and they are expanding this to have a lot more useful information, almost kind of adding that the device manager type thing, not as much of the device manager, but maybe a device information that you might have in a Windows platform. And so that actually is a pretty neat thing here. So of course it's the basic system information, and you'll see here from the sidebar, rather than just having your system information, I think they have system information, system reports, and crash reports. They've added USB, GPU, PCI, and BIOS, allowing you to see fine details. So the USB, for example, will give you all of the details about what's plugged into your USB ports, allowing you to gather more information in the event you need to do some troubleshooting. GPU, again, is also going to give you a lot more information. PCI, of course, this is your internals, so you'll have a lot of the internals information. And then inside the BIOS here, it'll give you information about the BIOS, what type of boot mode do you have, is secure boot enabled or disabled, brand of your BIOS, and things like that. This is all basic informational type stuff, but they actually will have a system administration app. Now, they are still working on this app, so what all we're going to have is still up in question. As of right now, their system administration app is a boot menu option. This is actually really good because these are some of those settings that some people really want to, how long does your grub menu show for? And can you add other things to it? Can you move things around? These are things that are fairly complicated to do, and you need to do them in the command line in most instances on Linux. And it looks like they are adding some of these options. You can show the menu or not. You can adjust the duration, how long the menu is being set, and then you can see down there that you can add various other system configurations available inside of your boot menu. So this actually is a really nice tool. Now, from the language in this update, it does sound like they're going to have more system items. And I think back to distributions like MX Linux that has a lot of really good tools. They have a built-in boot repair. Of course, that's kind of hard to get to if your system's not booting, but you have the built-in boot repair. We also have in there your basic, like you can reset all of your grub settings. There's just so many different tools that we've talked about many times on this channel that you can actually work with. And so ultimately, that is a really cool, nice feature that they have for that. So it'll be interesting to see what else is going to be included in the system administration. But it's going to be some of those basic system tools that will allow you to do some basic deeper configurations that's not specifically tied to, you know, how does your desktop look? Really, how does it boot and things like that. So this is an awesome new feature inside of here. Once again, Linux Mint is proving that it does a really good job of seeing what's in the room and configuring a Linux system is easy to use from the GUI. Some might even say too easy to use from the GUI. The only other major update here, we have XSI, which is XApp symbolic icons. So they've added this because the Adwaita icon theme is still a dependency in libgtk, but it no longer supports applications outside of GNOME, because of course not. Why would they possibly want to work with other systems, right? And so Linux Mint has solved this with the XSI, and this will give you the ability to have various symbolic icons for different things. So there's download buttons, open folders, new folders, a bunch of other things that are things you don't think about until they stop working, because GNOME really wants to be very ancelic and focus it on itself only to the exclusion of everyone else. And so that is actually something else. We will mention LMDE 6 will reach end of life January 1st. They have a blog post here to upgrade your LMDE 6 to LMDE 7. Unfortunately, 32-bit is no longer supported because Debian and Ubuntu dropped them, as well as the Mozilla and the Chromium-based browsers also dropped them. So that's wonderful. But still, excellent news from the Linux Mint team. I really like the adjustments to the menu they're making, and the expansion of system information is very useful if you run into a problem and people say, you know, what is your PCI? You know, it's like, I don't know idea what I'm talking about. You know, you can go in here and grab the information, and you can find things in a much more easy and sorted manner. So there's what we have as far as our updates on Linux Mint. Let me know your thoughts about all these in the comments down below.